And we are live. Let me just get this posted up here on Twitter. And we are all right. Now that that's up there. How's it going, everybody? I hope you had a great trading day today. Definitely, definitely some opportunity out there. We kind of tweeted out this morning, going into today, that we had we had the Powell speech today, and that was coming at noon, right? So there was going to be some craziness. So that's why I kind of started off the day. I was like, all right, well, we got our game plan, so focus on the game plan stuff. 15 orbs to start the day, and then try to bank some money on those, and then expect some chop before Powell talks, and then expect direction, right? So again, it's a binary event, right? So you have to expect it to go one way or another. I of course was leaning, to the short side, but because just stuff was just starting to work, like the Twitter, I've just been hanging around an area, right around that pitchfork resistance for a couple of days, and it finally was breaking to the downside, and then douche, so situations like that, it's like before you've got one of those big binary event type things, it's best to just kind of close out position, and maybe just keep a little speculative on, just to see if you get it the right way if you want to. Otherwise, just wait till it's over, and then wait till the direction goes, and then kind of go from there. So a little bit of administrative stuff. As you know, I kind of do hashtag game plan for the game plan, and now I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do hashtag 15 orb and hashtag 30 orb. This way, it'll be easier for anybody who is follow any of y'all who are following along during the day. You just kind of click on those, or do a hashtag 15 orb or hashtag 30 orb to just kind of pull up what we had, instead of kind of digging through everything. Of course, you could do hashtag game plan too, but sometimes I do in a separate post something that looks like it's going to be a good 15 orb or something like that. So and I might even just start just doing like hashtag double it a day, or type thing too, because these are some of my favorite strategies, and that are very consistent. So hopefully, I think you've seen. So the SPY, obviously, we kind of looked at it. It actually went green today. Had a huge day today. It went green. It was kind of hanging out below the 10 and over the 20 monthly moving averages. Finally got a little steam. Banging up against the 10 there. So the week, we took out last week's highs, and the today, just a huge day. And I really wanted to point this out, if I could get my thinkorswim there we go, so to behave here. This was just awesome. It was you got to look at it this way. That's the hard thing about trading, is because we just as people, as human beings, right, we like to have a story. We like to have essentially a trading bias. We like to have a direction in mind. We like structure. We like being right, and we're not algorithms, right? So it's a lot more difficult for us to switch direction, right? I'm still overall, I know things are going up here, but I'm still overall bearish, on the market, right? This is just, look at the last corrective phase that happened, right? So this is a wave 1 down, and then 2, right? And then, it went up pretty good, right? It looks like it's going crazy, right? So here, we'll see, we'll see what we do. We're coming up into some resistance here, off of this pivot line, this pitchfork resistance. And so, we just have to see what it does. But I did think it was really cool is that if you go here, it's easier to see here. And I tweeted it out earlier, of course, but I do think this is pretty awesome how these reaction lines, look at how they're just playing out, And again, the reaction line, and I know Fanny today asked about that, so I just kind of want to show, I'll clear these lines out here. Drawing, channel 1. 2, channel 1. Right? Okay, so we have a pitchfork here. And the reason I picked this pitchfork, right? So it's like, why didn't I pick that pivot or that pivot or that pivot? And the reason is activate drawn. I like these two, right? Because that shows like a definite pivot down. There was a low and a definite turning point there. So that's great. The trick is, where do you put this pivot? Do you put it here? Do you put it there? Do you put it there? There? And what I like to do is I like to just kind of move it around and see what we got. So this one here is pretty good, right? So because what I do is I like to look for, see down here, I like these pivots, so I like those to kind of line up. So that's pretty good. I checked out here, I like to start at the highs to the lows. That's pretty good. And then when I did this one, where was it earlier? Here? It's here. Here. Like that. Something like that. But the idea is, I think we're out a little bit further out of there. I lost my cool pivot. Anyway, but like you said, what I like to do is I like to try to get that median line near one of the new forming pivots. And I think if I wasn't missed that, let's just go here. Okay, we can even go there. Right, this would be fine. Right. So so ultimately, what's happening here is like we've got a bit of a breakout here through. I think I was higher up. I think I had a little bit. Let's just go there. Okay. Makes me go back. Yeah, that's good. It's not great though. I actually like this one better. I like that we're kind of breaking out. All right. So anyway, so what I want to do now is just show how to do those reaction lines. And so you take this, right? You take this line here. And this is pretty much the same no matter what you slice it and dice it. And you grab a channel, right? Just I'll show you again. You come down here, grab a channel, and I think it's the most effective tool for doing it in Thinkorswim. Some actually give you better options for it. And then you drag it out to other pivots. And if you can intersect two pivots, even better, right? So you click there, and then you duplicate it, and you drag it over here, right? And now you can see how effective that is, right? And so Alan Andrews, the creator of the Andrews pitchfork, also had this action-reaction method and said that if you can master this, you become a millionaire, right? And so I think it's really interesting. So the more I look at it, and the more I kind of practice it and study it, I think there's a lot of merit to that. So and certainly I would like to, make a fortune trading sensibly. So and I'd like everybody who tunes in and listens to my 2 cents on things, I'd like y'all to make a fortune too. And so if we learn together, we get better together, right? So so anywho, so this here, right? Look at that. It came right down here to this. Yeah, that was a better line. See how this kind of pivoted here at the median line, and then here hit the reaction line. That was the action line. This is the reaction line. So he was a physicist and MIT guy, and he basically found some merit to there being laws of physics applied in the stock market. He said how every action is an opposite reaction. That was kind of the foundation of these lines. And so, you had to pick your first line, and I think these pitchfork lines are really effective, and just seemed to work that way. And so, and then I think I drew like one other, which we could put wherever. We could take the high, take this one. I like it if it tries to intersect 2. So that would be a good one for later, for down the line. Let's pick this one right here, because that goes through a high and a low, that pivot and that pivot. So we'll do that, and we'll duplicate. And I'll drag it over here. And there we go. Voila. Yeah? So now we've got a couple action-reaction lines. And so we'll see what the SPY does, right? So now we can see it's kind of breaking out of this pitchfork area. And let's draw one more. And these were the, and Fanny was also asking about this too. So about these trigger lines, right? So the trigger line is you take it from the point of you're basically just doing a fan from your, from the start of your pitchfork to the 2 ends, and that gives you a fan line. It's also considered a trigger line, right? And so you could draw it there. You could do it there because that's where we are right now, But you'll start seeing this on more of my charts, and you'll understand what I'm saying when I say, broke the trigger. And so the idea is this kind of forms like a, and you look at it as just a trend line, from here to here, whatever the case is. But it does form support and resistance. And so if SPY continues to go up here, you would expect this to serve as some sort of resistance point. And, it kind of makes sense, right? There's some prior, consolidation in those areas. You could definitely see some, some action there. In fact, let's pull up a profile, a volume profile. Edit studies. There we go. Volume profile. Slap that on there real quick. I mean, you guys know I think these are pretty effective, right? So we can see here that if it does hit this area, it's kind of going into an air pocket, right? So there's kind of less volume in that area. So it would imply that it probably is going to go up a little bit higher, which makes sense, right? Because there's a pivot here, and that pivot corresponds to higher volume, right? There's positions there. People, institutions are probably have stops there, type things. So some volume in that area. So you would expect that if it does break this this trigger line, which corresponds to this air pocket, that you would get, you'd probably run up a little bit further into some more resistance up here, and then we'll see what it does. So from there, obviously, SPY's not going to go to the moon, right? We're heading into some more binary events. We've got the G20 summit coming up, so anything could happen after that. But you would expect once we're up here in the resistance, that it would come back down and test, but it would probably use this trigger line as support and then go back up again, maybe potentially up on this reaction line, right? So we just have to see. We just have to see what the price does and tells us, right? And I kind of drew this here just because you could see as we hit this median area and and hit the reaction line, we saw some positive RSI divergence, right? And so with that, a lot of times that implies that a pivot is in, and then the direction is changing. So right, so you can use a lot of these things to your advantage. And on the hourly bar chart and off of these pitchfork lines, the stochastics really change really well. So I just use a full stochastic, but I think you can use a slow, but I just use full. It just makes it easier. So yeah, so you can see here, right? We had a pivot here, right? Obviously RSI was going over, but so was the stochastic, and that brought us down here. Now we're kind of in this, both the RSI and the stochastic, we're kind of in this overbought like area. So I drew this line here. It's not quite negative divergence yet because this has to curl over. It could still go higher, right? It could still go higher. But for right now, I'm just kind of making an assumption. So it needs strength to get up here. And like we saw, if it does get up there, it could go higher. If not, we're coming back down, into the range, and maybe it'll hit this trigger line sometime next week, down here possibly. It could go halfway. But in general, it should at least break, 265, right? And then it's got a gap to fill, and the gap fills, and boom, you're potentially at the reaction line. And so that's kind of how I look at these, so these trigger lines and the pitchforks. I mean, really all they are is just trend lines, but it's just a sensible and easy way to kind of draw them. It gives you your channels, it gives you your action and reaction lines, things like that. So anyway, I hope that helps just give a little more clarity on that. And, I think it can definitely be used for perspective. And that's kind of what, the habit I like to get into is just being able to plan ahead for what's going on. So it helps to, one, analyze the stocks, and that's why I post, the monthly, weekly, daily, and hourly charts. And of course, we like to trade off 60 anchors and 15 orbs, 30 orbs, things like that. But it's also a good way when you're doing Elliott wave. Just kind of helps you give confirmation of waves and that you're in, and potential turning and inflection points of it too. So so I thought that was pretty interesting. So anyway, I hope that helps there. We looked at CRM yesterday, how that traded after hours. I did want to look at VEEV real quick, just to see what that's looking like after hours here. I threw a couple trend lines up on this one and some reaction lines here too. So we have this pitchfork here. I picked this pitchfork. That was interesting. Look at how this, right, we pivot here and here. So the pitchfork is in place, comes down to the median line, hangs out, breaks through. Once it broke through with authority, it should test the bottom end of the pitchfork, right? Does that, hits it to the tick, and then bounces up real quick, and then is right on this reaction line and takes us all the way up. And so now, after hours, let me go where we are after hours, here. So you can see they had earnings, right? And this is going to be on the 15 orb list for tomorrow. Why? Because it's got earnings, it's got positive news, it's staying up pretty well, it could get some follow through, especially if we got a pretty strong market. Futures are down a little bit right now, so we'll see if that holds up or not. So this is doing pretty good and should work on a 15 orb. Just be careful of spreads and stuff like that tomorrow on this guy. But yeah, this thing's coming up. So yeah, but you can see here it kind of broke right through this trigger line. So the question is, what's next? What's next? It's up at after hours. Where's it at? Level 2, 105.60. So so it's going to be up here. So on the reaction line too. So at that point, it's like, okay, we'll see what it does. If it gets some follow through, maybe we'll get a new pivot and we could draw an entirely new pitchfork and just kind of start over from that. Just kind of keep it on the radar if this is one you want to look at. So, all right, just a quick game plan review. Today, there was a lot of things to choose from, especially the long side today after the Powell speech. This is Papa John's, and I tweeted out today that this 15 orb is working. So I did trade this one. I had the 15 orb here. Things were kind of drifting down. Wasn't like quite directional yet. I figured, like I said this morning, we'll probably have time until the Powell speech. So let me at least give that a try. And this one worked. This one worked great. 49.81 entry, all the way down to 47.81. So a quick 2-point move in the course of 30 minutes, right? I mean, if you had 1,000 shares on that, right, the $2,000 trade right there, right? And then 12:30 came around, 12 o'clock came around, and this thing didn't get any volume. Hands off on this one. It's like it wasn't tied to anything. And so this will be a good one to keep on the 30 orb watch list for tomorrow too, for some further some further downside move as well. So that was a good one. What else do we have on the game plan? We had GM. I didn't even look at this one today because just busy, of course. You could have traded it. It would have been a little complicated. If you took it right off the first break, you would have had to have, held into some risk and all that stuff. But ultimately, it would have gone 36.08, 15 cents basically. But I think I warned yesterday about even off of orbs, GM is just a tough little stock to trade. It's a pain to watch. But it's, there's some merit to it. And then CRM, my failed lotto play from yesterday, I got out right in the beginning. I was able to, not completely lose everything. I didn't wait to see how far it would go down. But we talked about yesterday this trigger line. So let's go here real quick and take a look at that. So yesterday, right, I was thinking it was going to start and I didn't reanalyze the wave count or anything like that, but I thought it was setting up to go for a 5-3 down. But obviously I missed it, but it never took out this pivot here. So it could be, this could have been the 3, 1, 2, 3. No, that wouldn't have been a 1, but 2, 3, 4, 5. This could be an ABC correction. So A, B, C, and then, back up. So tough to tell on this one, but I do want to show you the pitchfork here. So let me remove this volume profile. No. Studies. It's not a drawing, it's a study, but take that out. Okay, so just look what happened here. So we saw, we drew the pitchfork, right, and then we took that, we drew that trigger line, right, trigger fan line there, and we could have done one down here, but it's just nowhere close to it, right? So anyway, it's pretty amazing that basically today. Now let's go back to the 30. So that you've seen the setup of that trigger line, and so now you're here. You can see what that pink line is. So last night, right, we talked about this, how it basically hit the hit the low, the medium point of the pitchfork, came back up, and then after hours and early hours, right, it hit that fan line. So I kind of saw it this morning, so then it opened, tagged it again, and then it was a short. So this was a reversal trade at the open. So again, I don't recommend those because they are more advanced, but I just thought it was fascinating that that really proved as pretty solid resistance there. And then it kind of came back up and ended over it. So very interesting how that worked out, that fan line, that trigger fan line. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. I mean, everything else is just pretty much ripped today. So if you weren't overly short in things, I did want to show that inside day. Apple was an inside day too. Let's see how that traded off of the inside day today. I got pretty busy after I traded Papa John's, but yeah, I mean, low, high 77, low. So it got pretty close, didn't quite hit it, but basically said, nope, I'm going to gap up. I'll test it maybe briefly, and then I'm going back up, right? But Facebook actually gave, and I just tweeted this out to our friends online there, that Facebook was an inside day, and so trading that was interesting. So everything was kind of going up today, but Facebook was in a world of its own, kind of drifting to the downside, right? And so if you took note of that, off of the inside day strategy, right, which is, essentially similar to the double inside day, except the break is a little bit more powerful, or a little bit more better of a strategy, right? So you would have traded this to the downside, and I think it was good, 133 all the way down to like 131, so a good 2.5 points here, right? And just lock profits along the way. And then as it came back into the range, well, everything, kind of, started rallying. And let's see when it did that. So that low was 133.71. So let's look. So at 133.71. So this is so it just started launching right when here. So this was the yesterday's low, right? And that's what I've been missing on that. I forgot to add the high low back to it yesterday. Okay, anyway, so as it took out yesterday, it came back into yesterday's range here, right? That could have been another long opportunity, right? And then basically rode that one up, or you could have just so I guess I misspoke. Sorry, it was in my tweet. It went back in the range after this Powell speech, but before it, that's the type of thing where you could put on a straddle or something like that if you're expecting some big moves. So that would have been really effective on Amazon today. Of course, it's expensive, but it's effective. Yeah, so that was pretty much today. A lot of people I think were probably looking for some follow through, and with the futures down and all that stuff, it's tough to say. I think the market likes to sucker as many people in as possible and get as many people out as possible. So a big move like today, it's tough to justify any real follow through. And that was kind of like my joke earlier on Twitter. It's like it just reminded me of Naked Gun when Lieutenant Frank Drebin was the umpire, and he's like, he didn't know what to call, so he's just like, strike. And then as soon as he said that, like the crowd started cheering. And then he's like, oh yeah, strike. So you could just imagine Powell next time is like, oh yeah, this works a little bit better when I say, I'm gonna do it this way. Yeah, but anyway, falafel diaper. Yeah, that was funny. So yeah, it's all good. I mean, it should be fine. So yeah, as long as you're doing it that way. So. Anyway, good stuff, guys. So at this point, if you have any questions, or chart requests, I'm happy to, take a look at that. Sorry, I was kind of rambling a lot, but just kind of wanted to go into, a couple different things today. What's going on, Cameron? Welcome. Yeah, hey, my pleasure. Thank you for, dropping by. What's going on, Chris? Yeah, exactly. Yep, Facebook. Yeah, Facebook was great. I mean, off the open. I mean, if you just saw it fading off the open, it was it was pretty solid there, right? So I mean, you could have done. I mean, you could have done an orb on it, right? You don't have to. It's not news related, right? Necessarily. Although there is some negative stuff still pending on Facebook. You could have traded that, brought that to the downside, and it just traded. But the inside day down was perfect, right? In fact, let me add this right here because I was like, oh, where's my high lows? So high low, daily high low, high low. Let's see if it's still saving my colors. Yeah. So there you go. I like to keep this so I can keep a reference of what happened, right? So I can see if I'm trading off my computer in the day, I can kind of see when I'm going into yesterday's range instead of like trying to eye out where the highs and lows are. So here I know this is yesterday's high, this is yesterday's low. So if you took that inside down, 133 all the way down there, right? So yeah, but this thing was just nasty. And then of course it came up with the rest of the market, but on fading volume too, so not very strong. So we'll see what tomorrow's got in store for us, right? I got some game plan items available. I would expect after a huge move like today to kind of have an inside day tomorrow too. I think a lot of people were kind of thinking for some follow through, but I could definitely see us consolidating, chopping up some premium, right? Because tomorrow's Thursday, so Theta is going to start declining a little bit faster, and then into Friday, if we have an inside day tomorrow, and something like Amazon, that's just going to make the premiums decline so much into Friday. You know, if people are holding options, you know, that type of thing, and then Friday is just going to decline even more. So it's hard to say. And then you get the G20 summit. So it's like, you know, what do we do at that point? So, and I don't know when news is actually going to hit on that G20 summit yet. So I don't know if it's going to be after the market. You know, so we might chop all the way into the weekend, and then we won't see the direction of the market until futures come in on Sunday. You know, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, if anybody's got any questions or chart requests, I'm happy to pull one up and just kind of, you know, analyze it real quick to how I would look at it, and then you know, I could do a you know, pitchfork on it, and you know, things like that, so you can kind of get a feel for it, and then do the you know, action reaction lines too, so you can kind of just get a feel for just charting it out and how I would look at it, you know, potentially. So I mean, right now I'm neutral, right? I don't have any positions on overnight, so I'm just going to see what we look, you know, how things look tomorrow. While you guys are here, if you don't mind, I'm going to go ahead and pull up. I like to chart. It's hard to chart all these things, right? I just want to look at AMD, because if this is your first time here, kind of following along, I like trading off Pitchfork. I like the orbs, so 15 orbs, and inside 60s, and the anchors at the end of the day that give you some reference point for trading the next day. So AMD, you know, kind of came up and all that stuff, but this was going down with Facebook too. I remember seeing it, but really decreased volume throughout the day. So that should be interesting to look at. And Twitter, oh man, I had to exit a position, and you know, this is just it was a private position I had. I didn't want to put it out there because it was kind of risky, because I entered a little bit early, but I was anticipating. As you guys may have seen, I have this analysis on this that eventually this thing is going to break down and possibly get below 20 by the end of the year, and then 2019 it might even get lower, potentially down to the teens, you know, the low teens, 11, something like that. So I'd started putting a position on early here the other day. I didn't want to post it because I didn't want anyone to accidentally follow me in on it, because it was pretty risky. And so I got it here, and I added some more as it was going up. Right, I wasn't dollar cost averaging. I was just adding to a position, right? And then I had to stop and all that stuff, and didn't have a lot of risk, but it was still risky, you know. So if you're not used to doing it, it doesn't really. Anyway, the idea was looking for a bounce off of this pitchfork, and it did, and it came down, and it was going great, right? I mean, I really thought we were going to start filling some gap, and you know, and really continue to the downside. And then Powell comments came right back up. So I ended up flat on the trade, which is annoying, but I do like trading those 60 anchors. And so here, just to see what it did, like, it came right back up into that pitchfork resistance. So this will definitely be one to watch tomorrow with a 60 anchor here. We'll see how it handles that tomorrow, right? And it's on increased volume. So at this point, like I said, I'm flat. I've got no stance, you know, sentiment one way or another. Just got to see what the market gives us tomorrow. So, but there's always news, and there's always orbs that you could trade, and a lot of them, you know, really work out pretty well. So, I mean, I was happy with just trading Papa John's this morning, you know. So, and, you know, I jumped in it, you know, some nonsense long today, but yeah, you can make anything long today, just if you caught it, you know. So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate, you know, some new faces and stuff today. You know, just keep tuning in. If you have any questions, you know, especially if you're watching the recording afterward, feel free to put a comment in, you know, question in the comment box that goes to my email, and I'll respond. Or you can send me a DM in Twitter, or you know, just do a post in Twitter, you know, just tag me on it, and I'll respond. I usually respond to pretty much everything. I try not to miss anything. So yeah, but hope you guys have a great trading day tomorrow. There's only 2 days left. I'll be working tomorrow. And my goal is, like I said, is to get to the point where I am just doing this kind of essentially part-time, you know, trading, you know, when I have an opportunity and I see the best setups, is to eventually make, you know, double what I'm making at work. And then at that point, I can go back to trading full-time. So I think I can get there, but it's going to might take a year or so. So just still working on that. But yeah, just, you know, feel free to tweet or, you know, contact me, and if you have any questions, and we'll get back to you. And hope you guys have a great night and an awesome trading day tomorrow. And appreciate you. Have a good night.